Right now, you can buy a cheap 3S RC car that's fast straight out of the box, this MJX Hyper Go 14301, or you can take a proven platform and upgrade it properly, like the Traxxas Bandit here. So this Hyper Go is budget, 4-wheel drive, and 3S ready, and this is my Traxxas Bandit. Didn't start like this, as it was brushed. Now it's got a 3S system, modified tyres, and better suspension. So today we're going to be answering a quick question. Cheap versus expensive. Which one actually makes more sense, especially if you're buying your first RC car? Because speed isn't the whole story. So that is stupidly fast for an RC car. So the appeal of having a car like this, aside from the cost, is that you buy it, you can charge a battery, and you're instantly going fast, especially if you're adding your own 3S LiPo. No upgrades, no wrenching, just drive. The Traxxas ideology is different. Stock, it's a brushed RC car for about $200. If you want 3S power and speed, then you're going to have to upgrade the motor, the ESC, the battery, and the charger. I also added big bore shocks for better suspension and durability, and the Anaconda tires on the back give a better road grip. So this car represents more money and more time, as well as more upgradability. And that's important, because we're not just comparing cars, we're going to compare approaches to the whole concept. So one of them is plug and play speed. The other one is build it your way performance. Okay, so we are now driving the Traxxas Bandit. So first thing that I can feel is that it's very responsive, especially with the throttle. And it's also quite exciting to drive. This because it's rear wheel drive compared to the 4-wheel drive Hyper Go. It also has loads of power because it's 3S. However, it's not got a lot of grip because the road is wet and it's only 2-wheel drive. Let's do a quick speed test. Drive it over here. And it is very, very, very fast. Okay, still pass. So that is stupidly fast for an RC car. So this just goes to show how much more powerful the Traxxas Bandit is when compared to the Hyper Go. It's also quite difficult to control, but this is because it's 2-wheel drive. It feels like you're driving on the edge most of the time with not as much grip. The front also feels quite floaty. The front lifts up a lot, and I bet if the roads were dry, it could definitely be hitting wheelies, and it might even flip over with the amount of power it has. Let's do another pass, try and get the tyres warmed up as well. So the advantage of having a 2-wheel drive platform is that it's a lot more fun to drive compared to a 4-wheel drive, in my opinion. It also requires a bit more skill, but it does make it quite exciting because all the power is going to the back wheels compared to only half of it. So let's do a quick pass. One thing that I'm also noticing is that it's quite loud, especially at top speed, and you can hear it when it's quite far away. However, you can see it quite well because it's quite big when compared to the Hyper Go. You can also see the suspension travel a bit, which is quite nice. It kind of rocks back and forth when you hit the throttle. Yeah, it's got quick steering with the modified servo, which I put in. When it was stock, one thing I could remember is that the steering was terrible. It worked when it was brushed, but as soon as I switched to brushless, I had not got enough control over it, so I definitely needed this new servo. So if you were to upgrade one thing on the Bandit, it would be either ESC and motor or a new servo. Let's go and test the Hyper Go. Okay, now let's test the Hyper Go. So right now I've got it on 3S, but with 70% power, which is pretty comparable to what you'll get with 3S. So the first thing I'm noticing is that it is quite quiet when compared to the Bandit. This is due to the smaller motor and also the double body shell, most likely. Okay, so it's quite responsive. It also tracks very straight. This is because it's 4-wheel drive and it's got a gyro. I've got the gyro tuned to 30%-ish. This is because I don't want it wobbling in high speed runs, which is something I have noticed when driving it, so just keep that in mind. Okay, let's test the LEDs, I just remembered. Okay, so this is normal LED mode. So you have police lights in the front. It has got turn signals, which is one thing which I do not like about this. I don't think there's a way you can turn this off, so if you got that, then if you don't like the turn signals, then that might be an issue when using this. They're also on the back where you have a light bar and 2 brake lights. Okay, so now I've got it tuned to 100% power, and I can instantly notice that it's very responsive and it's also quite stable. This is because I'm just not used to 4-wheel drive RC cars. So it accelerates very cleanly, as you can see. This to a launch. It has some wheel spin, but that's probably due to the wet road. So the website advertises 60 km/h top speeds, and I would have no problem believing that. Let's just wait for that car to park before we do a high-speed run. So the steering is very fast, quite responsive, and there's not any delay on the transmitter, so it's got nice control. Okay, let's do our high-speed run, what you've all been waiting for. Okay, I'm going to keep the lights on for this because it's quite small and hard to see when it's quite far away. Let's go. Okay, going to go all the way back here. And that is already quite fast. It's very straight when it drives, pretty much dialed in. Okay, let's go for a pass. It is fast-ish. It's not quite as fast as the Bandit, but it is a very quick RC car. So the website says 60 km/h. That is probably very accurate with this. Let's get another pass in. There we go. So that is pretty fast. So this RC car is very quiet, and it is also very quick on 3S. But the advantage of this RC car is you don't need to upgrade it to handle 3S, so you're already getting very high speed just straight out of the box, where with the Bandit you need to upgrade it. Those turn signal lights really annoy me. See, look, when I turn, the lights flash. That's really... let's check out the other light modes. So we have this mode where it flashes, not my favorite, and then we have off, which is probably what I would use to save battery. Okay. Now let's talk about the driving experience and the controllability of these cars. So with the Hyper Go, it has a gyro in it, which makes it a lot easier to drive. It also has 4-wheel drive, which allows for clean launches and straight lines. The Bandit, however, is a rear-wheel drive RC car without a gyro. It has a very rearward weight balance, which makes it very fun to drive, but you're always on the edge of control. So that means that the Hyper Go is much easier to control, and that's why it's quite good for beginners. Now let's talk about the durability. So if you're new to RC cars, you're going to crash a lot, especially with these very fast RC cars. So 4-wheel drive helps beginners keep control. That alone will save you a lot of money in broken parts. So the Bandit, being rear-wheel drive, demands more throttle discipline, but that also makes you a better driver, and you won't have to rely on a gyro to keep you driving straight all the time. So cheap cars today aren't toys, they're seriously capable. But quality platforms still have an edge in refinement and long-term support, like this Bandit here, which has very high parts availability. Now let's discuss the cost of each RC car. So the MJX Hyper Go 143L1 can be found for as low as $90 on some websites like Banggood. This means that it's very easy to get into RC with cars like these, which have quality durability and are very fun to drive. If you're willing to upgrade to a 3S LiPo, like this one that I've got over here, this will cost you about $30 extra plus maybe $30 to $50 extra for a charger. So you're looking for about $60 to $70 just to turn this thing to 3S. The Bandit, however, costs $200 just for the stock one with a brushed motor, but it does come with an MH battery. If you're looking to upgrade to 3S, that can set you back about $200 depending on which parts you choose, making the Bandit much more expensive than the Hyper Go. However, the Bandit is a lot more durable even though the chassis is plastic. This is because it's just made out of quality parts from Traxxas, where the Hyper Go has got some durable parts, but you can't always trust the quality. So the Traxxas also has much higher parts availability, which makes it much easier to use in the long run, and it will also save you a lot on shipping costs, where all of the parts with this must come from China, unless you're buying aftermarket ones. Traxxas parts also are very easy to find at hobby stores. They've got a very broad selection of parts, so if you break something, you will absolutely be able to replace it. However, Traxxas parts often come at a very high price premium. This is just a typical thing that Traxxas does. This is why the MJX Hyper Go is much cheaper to start out with, and it's great if you're just willing to get quick fun and go fast. The Bandit is for a die-hard hobbyist who really wants to get into the hobby and wants to drive very fast with a quality machine, even if it's going to cost more than a machine like this. Now let's discuss the concept of upgrading your RC car. This is one of the reasons why people even get more expensive RC cars like this. With this RC car, you are completely locked with what it is, and there are very few upgrades which you can do to it. Possibly you could upgrade the powertrain, but that would be quite difficult as you would have to find the right parts, which aren't easily available. The Bandit, however, is absolutely upgradable and is one of the most upgradable machines out there. You can upgrade the suspensions, the arms, the motor, absolutely everything on this car can be upgraded, whereas this car only has a few options which will cost more due to shipping fees. So that alone is one of the reasons why this costs so much more and is so much more popular. So what actually matters more? Upfront cost, ease of use, upgrade potential, driving experience? Well, if you want maximum speed per dollar that you spend and want something that's fun immediately, the Hyper Go is very hard to beat. If you want something that you can grow with, tune, upgrade, and really understand mechanically, the Bandit definitely wins long term. So here's the honest truth. For a complete beginner, the Hyper Go probably makes much more sense. It's easy, it's fast, it's simple to use. But if you already like tinkering and you enjoy upgrading, and if you want something that evolves and you can upgrade with you, the Bandit is definitely worth the investment. So to wrap it up, cheap gives you instant speed, expensive gives you depth. At the end of the day, both are fun, and that's the point of remote control cars. If you had to choose your first RC car, let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.